you amazing human being, how are you? I hope this finds you well. If you're new here, hello, I'm Ali. I'm a feel-good mentor and writer, and I share tips and tricks about creating and living your own feel-good life. I also share behind the scenes of living and creating my own feel-good life as somebody who also manages a chronic illness as well. Today is World Book Day, and if you didn't know, I love reading. I adore reading, and I have done since I was a very young girl. It wasn't until I was nearing the end of university that I figured out my genre of reading tended towards romance and self-development, spirituality, personal growth, those kind of things. And once I found the niches, the genres that I liked to read, I read so much more than I ever dreamed. If you are new here, I read on average about 200 books a year. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. A couple of years are anomalies and I read 300. It doesn't happen very often. If you're interested in how I read so much, I am happy to share at a later date or anything like that. But I really want to share 6 books that have helped me change my life over the last nearly 2 decades. That are non-fiction, self-development, personal growth, spirituality, in those kind of genres, because I think reading can change your life. Reading can make you happier, it can help with your mental health, it can help with your physical ailments. It's a brilliant distraction to what goes around in the world, and it's also a really good tool to help you grow and become a better person and to figure yourself out as a human being. It's one of the reasons that I like writing as well. So anyway, I'm going to get on to these 6 books. Like I said, they're all non-fiction books. They're quite different books, although I think actually one book is a kind of like marketing book. The first book I have is Everything I've Ever Done That Worked by Leslie Garner. I first read this way back in, I'm not quite sure, it was somewhere between 2005 and 2008 I read this. I was on break from university, I was at home, I'd got it from the library originally. In the summer I sat on my parents' back patio and read it in the sunshine, and I loved it. I really adored it. Compared to how I normally make books look, it actually looks really new still, but honestly, I got this in 2011. I got this version. Also got some poetry books with it as well, because I've got the Amazon thing at the back to tell me when I bought it. I just found Everything I've Ever Done That Worked is just super inspiring, and taking somebody who has like already 30 years worth of life and living experience and hearing what they've got to say, I always found that really interesting and really fascinating. And this comes, like I said, this kind of comes from it feels kind of like a bit like chatting to a friend or listening to a friend chat, but at the same time also like if you had a session with a life coach, which I think there's a mention in here about her talking about life coaching and stuff in there. I really enjoyed this. I found this really inspiring and really helpful, and I just really enjoyed it, and I do recommend it if you haven't read it. Like I said, you'll see a couple of my other books that are way more damaged than this, because I don't know why, but this has just been in really good condition since I bought it. I must have really taken care of it. I actually thought originally when I pulled it out that the pages were going to be falling out. They're not. It's in really good condition. I definitely recommend this one. My next book is Save Karen by Karen Bosnick, A True Life Shopaholics Journey to Debt and Back. My husband and I were living at the other end of the country, down south, and I was a couple of years out of university. We were obviously in debt, student, trying to figure out life and everything, and I read this and I found this really inspiring and really interesting and really helpful. This is a true story that has been slightly exaggerated in places. It's taken basically from the author Karen Bosnick's. She had a blog. She was massively in debt. She's American. I say that because it's more common for Americans to be in big amounts of debt because of their university fees and things like that compared to the UK. She had a blog where she documented her journey to getting out of debt, how she, you know, sold off some of her clothes, how she downsized apartments, how she moved. She also had a tip option on her blog posts back then, so people could help her reduce the debt that she had, and she was constantly sharing how much she was paying off, how much she had left on her credit cards, how, you know, she was making changes financially and socially. You know, instead of going out and buying like 5 cocktails and stuff like that, she'd go out and do 2 for 1, or she would, instead of buying a whole new wardrobe when she got a new boyfriend or went on dates, she would try and reuse things. This, like I say, this is a very different time that this came out, compared to where we are now with living in costs and things like that. But it was a really good read. I really enjoyed it, and it really helped me take a different approach to spending and money and stuff like that when I was in a bad place. Let's flap all the way back to 2011 again, and like I said, I'd lost my dad in 2010. This book smells bad. I've dropped it in the bath at least once, and I think I might have to replace it. It's The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, or she's also titled it Why I Spent a Year Trying to Sing in the Morning, Clean My Closets, Fight Right, Read Aristotle and Generally Have More Fun. She has an amazing podcast. She's probably way more well known now. I think she's got more than a handful of books out. I was dealing with grief. I was in a really bad place, and this book helped me dig my way out of my grief and help me start becoming a more happy and more positive person. So if you're not aware of Gretchen Rubin, who she is, what she's about, and what the Happiness Project is about, it is basically Gretchen's year-long journey to become a happier person and to find out what makes her happier and to do different things. So some things are like, one of the things is like stop nagging her husband and her children, and like every month she would have a different thing to do. So like January was Boost Energy and it was about vitality. February was Remember Love and it was about her marriage. March was Aim Higher and it was about work. And so every month she focused on different ways that she could become happier, become a better person, and be a better mum and wife and person. And I found it really inspiring and uplifting and motivating, and it really helped me, as I said, in that time where I was dealing with the grief of losing my dad and feeling like what was the point, and just feeling really lost and alone. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and it has a special place in my heart because it helped me become a better, happier person. Really, it really helped boost my happiness. I love this so much that I've actually bought so many friends and family members copies of this book. Like my mum has a copy, a couple of my old friends have copies of this. Literally it helped change my life, and I went and bought it for loads of people as well. So I highly recommend this if you haven't read this, and if you're looking to become a happier person, if you're wanting to make some changes in your life, I definitely recommend giving this a read. It is savaged. The spine's actually still in really good condition, but I think it's because it's one of those. But yeah, it's savaged. Like I say, I've dropped it in the bath. It's been underlined in places. I've highlighted tabs. But seriously, the smell is killing me. It smells gross. It doesn't look like it's in bad condition or anything, so maybe if I air it out it might help, but oh, it smells bad. I've not read this in a really long time because, like I said, I've also bought this in Kindle on ebook version as well because I do like this book as well. It's not How Good You Are, it's How Good You Want to Be, the world's best-selling book by Paul Arden, and it's basically it's a book about marketing and marketing yourself, and I really enjoyed it. It's a really short read. There is not a lot to it. It's quite big text, there's images, there's bold titles, so it's a really quick read. It doesn't take long to read, but it's really enjoyable, and it was really interesting to think about marketing yourself and branding yourself. And this is way before I even got into starting and running my own business. Literally have 2 books left. This is one of my all-time favourites. So as I said, like all of these, apart from the last one, are from a time when I was struggling with the loss of my dad. And so I think these are maybe why they had such a profound effect on me and helped me change my life. But I had lost my dad to cancer. It was really sudden, it was really unexpected, and blogging was starting to take off. Had just been starting to take off those last few years, and I ended up falling down into this person's blog, and she had lost her significant other, she'd lost her partner, and she had shared, I think a couple of years previously or something like that, her grief and how she was struggling, and she got a book deal to talk about it. And this is the book. This, I know, Notes on Unraveling the Heart by Susanna Conway. And I love this book. Like, I love this book. The first half of this book always makes me cry and gets me tearful. And it's just so moving and so heartwarming and so helpful when I was struggling. So I don't often go for hardback books, but I bought this when it came out. I pre-ordered it. I was desperate to get my hands on it because I loved her writing on her blog posts. It was in 2012. Susanna is still around online. She runs a completely online business of courses about writing and journaling and tarot and finding and accessing your little child, and she's just wonderful. She has a Substack as well where she updates. I think she's still on Instagram. And yeah, like I say, I just loved this book. Have tabs in it. You can't really see the green ones that well, and it's just beautifully written. There are pictures in it that are Susanna's own pictures in it. It's just beautifully written, and just highly recommend it. And it just helped me deal with my grief and my sadness. Like, all of these are probably books a lot of people have read or heard about. None of these are like not necessarily new, but they're good books and they're recommended for a reason. The last book is The Universe Has Your Back, How to Feel Safe and Trust Your Life No Matter What by Gabrielle Bernstein. It is a spirituality book, really. I'm very much somebody who trusts my own gut, my intuition, believes in the universe a little bit, sort of, and I really enjoyed this book. Basically, I think I got it in like 2017, 2018, because that's when I was getting into my intuition and getting into my sort of more spiritual side and learning more about not manifestation but the universe. I know Gabrielle Bernstein is very much about manifestation and stuff like that, but I really enjoyed it. I found it really helpful in like trusting myself and helping me believe in myself and that I know my own path and my own way more and better. It's just 12 chapters. It's not massively long. In Kindle as well. And again, like, do I only ever trash my romance books? But just looking at my non-fiction books, I think maybe because they're more bendy. Normally I have cracked the spine a bit on this one. I don't know how well you can tell. I'm normally like, I'm pro spine cracking and everything, and I'll probably read it like this. And yeah, but I really enjoyed Universe Has Your Back. I definitely highly recommend it if you're interested in that sort of thing. And they're the books that have helped me change my life, make me a better person, make me a more happier, contented person. And I'm grateful to the authors for writing these books, for putting the time and energy into them, and for marketing them. And I highly recommend these books. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you think. Even if you didn't enjoy them, everybody has different tastes and different opinions, and that's okay. I would love to know what you think about it. So I know I said 6 books, right? But can I be cheeky? I feel like it wouldn't be me if I wasn't cheeky and I didn't add a book, because I love books. I love talking about books. I could sit here and talk for hours about different books and different recommendations for where you are in your life and the kind of books that you could read to help you in those different scenarios and different places that you are in your life, to help you feel like you can be the best version of you. This one is a little bit different. This one is this is a good book. It's a non-fiction book still, but it kind of balances into that health and wellness and well-being kind of area. If you aren't already aware, I have endometriosis and adenomyosis. I think I pronounced that right. I always get that one wrong. And I've been living that with the condition for practically 18 years, and I'm not going to get into any of that in this, because that is not what this is about. But if we flip back, not that many years ago now, to be honest, in comparison to the other books, but 2017, 2018, my husband and I were looking at IVF. I'd done a short fake menopause and I'd come off it, and I was struggling to get my periods to start back up after coming off it after 6 months, because the fake menopause basically stopped my periods. So my body could have a bit of a break and a bit of a rest, and I could recover from being so violently ill. And I was struggling to get my periods back, and it was just a nightmare. It was really difficult. It was really hard. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know anything. The Balance Plan is a really good book, and I recommend it if you are interested in learning about hormone health and eating for hormone health, and if you're struggling with your periods and you want to get your periods back, then I really enjoyed this book, okay, and I'm recommending it to you. It is by Angelique Panagos. Do you know what? I actually found this in TK Maxx, because it's got a TK Maxx sticker on the back for $12.99. And it's basically 6 steps to optimize your hormone health, and it's broken into like basically 3 parts, shall we say. So the first part of the book is, technically it's 4 parts. So the first part is how hormones work. So she talks about all the different types of hormones, and then the next part are the showstoppers, talking about PMS, toxins, stress, PCOS, endometriosis, premenopause. And then part 3 is the 6 pillars of balance that she goes through, and part 4 is a personalized food plan, and then there's loads of recipes at the back. So even if you weren't interested in the food and the recipe section, which is actually 3/4 of the book, to be honest with you, I do recommend the first quarter of the book. Maybe see if it's an ebook or something. And if you're interested in hormonal health and stuff like that, I found it really interesting and really helpful and really fascinating. But as I said, I'm somebody who suffers from endometriosis, and it does talk about and mention stuff about endometriosis. And way back, even in 2017, 2018, there weren't lots of people talking about endometriosis and health, and how food and things like that and other things could affect your pain and your symptoms and things like that. So I found it really interesting, and I did get my period back after doing this for, I think it was about 4 weeks. So whether or not this was actually the cure, or whether or not it was just happenstance and it was just time, I cannot honestly say, but I recommend this book. I enjoyed it, I liked it, and I would recommend it. And that is my cheeky add-on. And the recipes are good and interesting. Like, they're not all my cup of tea, because I'm not a massive veggie person. That's not to say there's not meat recipes in here. There are meat recipes in here. There's salmon, there's turkey, there's beef, there's pork, I think. There's all kinds of different meat recipes in here, as well as vegetarian ones, and I do recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I found it interesting, and I've recently pulled it out again to have another read through, and that is a different thing for another time. So that is it. That's me shutting up now. These are my books that I loved. If you read that, have an opinion on any of them, or if there's anything that you recommend that I should read, do let me know. And I'll throw this one out there as well. If you are in an area of your life where you feel like you want to read something to help you dig yourself out, you can't afford life coaching, don't know where to start or anything like that, let me know what kind of area you're stuck in and struggling with, and I can give you some recommendations for books to read, because I really enjoy doing that and I find it fun. Okay, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.